Top 10 countries where black people are not welcomed. For more than 200 years, being a black person wasn't a very savory experience. Your skin color decides your class in society and treatment. While it is no longer the same these days, in most countries, there are still places where black travelers might not feel welcome. This video will explore 10 places where black people are not welcomed. Are you curious to know which countries made the list? Then you should stick around till the end of this video. Number 10. India. For a country that is home to millions of dark-skinned people, India's appearance on this list will most likely catch you off guard. It's a place many wouldn't immediately associate with racism. However, if you look into the news or listen to personal stories, it becomes clear that racism, particularly against black people, is a recurring issue in this country. Many Africans live in India, though their numbers have decreased in recent years. Among the stories shared by black individuals is one from a Nigerian student who attended Enowa International University. On a quiet Monday when he didn't have classes, he decided to walk through the streets. Unfortunately, what started as a peaceful march quickly turned into a mob targeting him simply because of his skin color. The crowd attacked him, leaving him injured, with no clear explanation given at the time. It later came to light that the march was a protest against Nigerians living in the area. As a Nigerian himself, he became an easy target. Sadly, this is just one example of the racism black people face in India. Others have reported struggles, like being denied entry to certain establishments solely because of the color of their skin. These incidents show just a little. Number 9. Morocco. Morocco is another country that might surprise many people when it comes to racism. It's not a place most would think of as racist, but black people, including Africans and African Americans, often face discrimination here. Even more interesting is the fact that Morocco refuses to admit there is racism against black people. But many stories and reports say otherwise. Even black Moroccans born in the country have started speaking out about their experiences. The local language also shows how racism exists. Words like al-Ab, meaning slave, and al-Adim, meaning servant, are often used. Another word, al-Harani, means free black slaves. Black people are also called names like monkeys or pigs, which are very hurtful and show deep discrimination. Black people in Morocco, whether locals or visitors, often feel treated as less important than others. This makes it hard for them to live or visit the country without facing racism. Number 8. Brazil. Brazil is famous for the Amazon rainforest, the huge Christ the Redeemer statue, and stunning places like Sugarloaf Mountain and Copacabana Beach. These attractions draw tourists from all over the world. But behind these beautiful sights, there is a side of Brazil that many people don't realize: racism. When you visit Brazil, you might be drawn to its culture, but depending on where you go, you could face racism and feel discriminated against. Studies show that racism is a real issue in Brazil. One study found that more than half of black people in the country believe their race impacts their daily lives. Many black Brazilians say they face discrimination at work and unfair treatment by the police. What makes this even more troubling is Brazil's history. The country used to have a large population of black and mixed-race people, and it was the last country in the Americas to abolish slavery. Brazil was also a major exporter of slaves. This history shows that racism has been a long-standing problem in the country, even after slavery ended. Number 7. Colombia. Colombia is famous for its coffee, beautiful wildlife, jungles, tasty food, and natural resources. But despite all the good things about the country, racism is still a big problem here. Racism in Colombia shows up in many ways. The media often shows how widespread it is, even though the country has made little progress in tackling anti-black racism. This is true even though Colombia has an Afro-Colombian woman serving as vice president. One example is Danelli Estupinan, an Afro-Colombian woman who, along with others, has spent a lot of time fighting against discrimination. She and other black women have risked their lives to defend black communities. Sadly, things got so serious at one point that she even received death threats. Visiting or living in Colombia as a black person is definitely not a very good idea. Number 6. Switzerland. Switzerland is famous for its cheese, chocolates, watches, and beautiful mountains. However, there are several reports of black people being followed in stores because staff assumed they would steal. Imagine being treated in that manner. In other cases, people have been denied service or housing simply because of their race. The racism in Switzerland is often subtle, making it hard to confront. Many black travelers have shared stories of being ignored or receiving poor service compared to white customers, which is really sad. Another concern raised by black residents and visitors is the treatment they receive from law enforcement. Racial profiling is reportedly common, and many feel they are unfairly targeted because of their skin color. As a black person, traveling to Switzerland might expose you to this kind of unfair treatment. Number 5. China. The thing about racism in China is that it is not very difficult to lay hands on it. It is not subtle, but very noticeable. It's common for black visitors to be stared at, pointed at, or even have their skin or hair touched without permission. The media in China has contributed to these racial stereotypes. TV ads and movies often portray black people in a negative light. One famous example is a commercial for a laundry detergent where a black man is placed in a washing machine and comes out as a light-skinned Asian man. These kinds of images help spread the idea that black people are inferior. Some Africans living in China have faced even more serious problems, especially during the pandemic. There were reports of Africans being evicted from their homes or denied service in restaurants and stores. Although not everyone in China holds racist views, these incidents show how widespread the problem can be in some areas. Number 4. Russia. This racism issue is not a new one in Russia. It, in fact, has deep historical roots. Black residents and visitors often experience hostility, with stories of verbal abuse and even physical attacks being common. A big challenge in Russia is the presence of far-right extremist groups. These groups openly promote racist ideas and have been known to target black people in violent attacks. The situation is made worse by a lack of legal protections and accountability, leaving victims with little support. Even in everyday social settings, black people in Russia often feel unwelcome. Many have shared experiences of being stared at, excluded, or treated as outsiders. This shows that racism in Russia is not just a problem with laws, but a deeply embedded social issue. Number 3. Italy. Italy is famous for its rich history, iconic landmarks, and delicious food. But which black person would enjoy their famous pasta while being sneered at or experiencing outright degradation? Black people, especially immigrants from Africa, often face discrimination and hostility in different parts of the country. In recent years, the migrant crisis has sparked anti-black feelings in some parts of Italy. Many Italians wrongly blame African migrants for problems like unemployment and crime, leading to increased tension. There have even been reports of black people being attacked in the streets just because of their race. Black tourists have also shared their stories of poor treatment in Italy. Some have been denied entry to clubs, while others faced hostility or bad service in restaurants, shops, and public spaces. Number 2. Poland. Black residents in Poland have also spoken out about the daily challenges they face. Issues like housing discrimination, difficulty finding jobs, and verbal abuse are common problems for many. A lot of black visitors have shared many stories of feeling unwelcome. Many report being stared at, whispered about, or even laughed at in public spaces, which can make their visit uncomfortable. The lack of diversity in the country has led to a general lack of understanding or awareness about racism, which only worsens the situation. This lack of exposure to different cultures can create a sense of discomfort and alienation for black individuals, making Poland an increasingly difficult place for them to feel accepted or at ease. First, Germany. Germany, even though it is known for being modern and progressive, is still a place where black travelers and residents face discrimination. While the country is more diverse compared to many of its neighbors, racism still exists, especially in certain regions. There have been many reports of racial profiling by police, with black people being stopped and questioned without any clear reason. In some situations, black individuals have shared stories of verbal abuse or being treated as suspicious simply because of their skin color. Germany also has a history of far-right extremism, and neo-Nazi groups remain active in certain areas. These groups have been connected to hate crimes that target black people, immigrants, and other minorities. Although many Germans oppose such extremist views, the continued presence of these groups can make the environment unwelcoming for black people. We've come to the end of this video. Which countries are surprise inclusions on this list for you? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons so you don't miss out on our next video. See you soon.